You are afraid of success. I know that sounds backwards. Typically, you think, I can only be scared to fail, right? But if you're anything like me, you're actually preventing yourself from succeeding because of your mind, okay? And you're actually afraid of success. What do I really mean by that? I mean, on paper, that just doesn't sound right because success in your head is painted in a very specific light. It is sunshine and rainbows. It is everything is perfect. It is this goal you finally want to achieve, right? But just like anything in life, it's not that simple. And success is going to come with a lot of baggage, and you've got to be able to handle it. You've got to be able to have the mental fortitude to accept your success for what it is. Let me dive into a specific example within my baseball career. So you're probably familiar with my story at least a little bit, with how I settled at the D3 level. I was a very talented physical player. My mental game was abysmal. It was terrible. I didn't know how to handle anything. And with that, I couldn't handle my successes just as bad as I couldn't handle my failures. And I was stuck in this cycle. So let me know if you relate to this. I'll get very specific here within, my games themselves. So let's say I have a game, 0 for 3, a couple strikeouts, I'm popping up to first base. Just a terrible game. Obviously, that would mess with me so bad, where I felt like that next game I had to make up for it. That next game I had to go 3 for 3. The next game I had to go 2 for 3. I had to hit a double. I had to make up for my failures. Not only because of the stat sheet, but because of my father in the stands, my family that was there watching me, the coaches, my teammates. I thought I was letting everybody down. You probably relate to that, at least to some degree. Relatively normal, I would say, for a high school hitter. It takes time to mature out of that mindset, and it takes training to rewire your brain out of that chasm. It's a trap. But on the flip, I was actually scared to go 4 for 4 that next game as well. And you're thinking, how does that make any sense? Well, if I went 4 for 4, I now set a new standard for myself. I now set a new bar for myself that I had to remain above from that ensuing point. So that expectation was then painted of my success determines my value. So bad. So bad. There's a reason why my career was as volatile as it was. It was very up and down. When I would hit these strides, when I would hit these moments of success, it would feel like I was high. I was literally high on success. And I felt like I was on the peak of Mount Everest, right? And I would hit these spurts of maybe a week, maybe 2 games, 3 games where I'm just hot, right? And I'm riding that. But I would self-sabotage myself in that process, because as I'm climbing Mount Everest, right, I'm getting to my peak, I have really high highs, I'm looking back behind me thinking, whoa, I'm really high up here. I'm really, really high up here. What if I fall? And I was so focused on falling that I never looked forward at reaching a new pinnacle. It was always, hey, I'm checking my back. How high are we? Am I going to fall? Am I going to tumble? Am I going to be back at square one? Right? And I thought I would feed myself this narrative of, all right, let's say I went 0 for 4. The next game I go 3 for 4. I'm painting this narrative that people think I got lucky, or I got lucky. I'm actually that 0 for 4 player who just so happened to go 3 for 4. It was a narrative I was painting myself. On top of that, I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be much more embarrassing to go 0 for 4, then 3 for 4, and then 0 for 4 again, as opposed to just going 0 for 4 all 3 games? Wouldn't it be more embarrassing that I just got lucky and then I exposed myself again that third game and just go 0 for 4 because I suck? Wouldn't that just be the pinnacle of embarrassment to everybody around me and myself and my family because they think I'm good that second game, and then I just destroy their expectations and I make everybody embarrassed at myself? That's literally how I played the game. And you wonder why I settled for D3 baseball. You wonder why I had physical tools but couldn't put it together remotely. You can't succeed with that mindset. And that's how I was afraid of success, right? Because things come with success. It is not cut and dry unless you make it cut and dry. So that baggage that comes with success, there is expectations, there's responsibility. The more successful you become, the more responsible you feel. Like, you have 2 games, you're 4 for 4. That third game, you're going to feel responsible leading that team to success because of that. In business, like for me, the more athletes I bring in, the more success I have, the more responsibility I have to serve these guys, to post more content, to elevate myself, elevate my business, do the things I need to do times 10. Like, the responsibility doesn't leave. You've got to know how to handle that up here, or else you're going to fall flat and go right back to where you set that bar for yourself, which is typically where you feel comfortable. I felt, as bad as it is to say, I actually felt more comfortable going 0 for 4 than I did going 4 for 4. Because when I went 4 for 4 and I saw tremendous success, my rationale was, Nate, you got lucky. You are that 0 for 4 player. Everyone gets lucky in this game. So you're never going to succeed that way. And I want you guys to think a little bit here. Like, after the video's over, just kind of shut off your phone, close your eyes, maybe take out a notebook and start jotting some things down. And just think, like, are you actually striving for success? And are you okay and comfortable with what that brings? Or deep down, super low key, are you running away from what comes with it? Whether it's responsibility, expectations. Are you running from that? Or are you looking it directly in its eyes saying, I got this? Because failure is one thing. Humans are wired to stay comfortable, and failure is not comfortable. Unless you have a very similar story to me where you've tricked yourself so many times and you've fallen in such a deep spiral that failure actually is subconsciously comfortable. Failure is not comfortable to people. They want to win. They want to succeed, and they'll play it safe to do so. So ask yourself, am I afraid of failure, number 1? But number 2, am I actually afraid of success? And number 3, if I'm afraid of both, where do I lie? You're going to have some sort of middle ground where you feel comfortable, right? You're going to have some sort of middle ground where you feel comfortable. And that's where you're going to sit until you build the awareness and take action steps to eliminate those fears, right? Like, to me, I was so used to going, like, to having bad games where I felt comfortable with it, but there was a certain line, right? So, like, okay, if I went 0 for 4 with 4 Ks, terrible game. That felt like a failure to me. But if I went 0 for 4 with 4 pop-ups, maybe a ground ball or something, I'd be like, hey, that's okay. Like, you still went 0 for 4, but there was a line that I definitely had for myself where that failure just felt so bad. So I sat in that middle line of, I'm actually okay with going 0 for 4 as long as it was not 4 strikeouts. And I was just comfortable sitting there. And as long as I was comfortable there, I was never gonna succeed in the game. I was never gonna play D1 baseball. I put in all the work. I put in the physical work. I hit the ball hard. I threw seeds, man. I threw gas, right? Threw 93 from the outfield as a sophomore in high school. Had 95 plus EV. I could hit the ball out of the park, hit doubles. I could really play the game. But as soon as the pressure came, as soon as the performance results became in view, that whole spiral that I described was constant. That was every game. So the only way to defeat that, guys, and if you feel like you relate, you got to build that awareness. You got to put pen to pad, write these things down, and then write down the steps it takes to overcome exactly what you wrote. Better yet, write down what you're trying to convince yourself of. What is the BS you're feeding yourself? Become aware of that. Actualize what your thoughts are and what they're conveying to your subconscious. Like, if you're avoiding success, why? And what is the rationale you feed yourself? And then write that down and read it over and over until it sounds silly. The only way I can speak to you guys right now about this and articulate it so well is because I've thought about it a lot and I've written it down and I've read it over and over and over until I just understood that it was so stupid. It was ridiculous. So become aware. Take the steps, guys. The first step in that is you got to write it down and you got to actualize it within yourself and really take off the mask and understand what you want out of this life, what you want out of the game. So I hope this helped. This is kind of a rant, if you will, but it was my story, man, and it's what I'm going to share because I know there's players out there that can relate. So I hope this helped you guys. Don't be afraid of failure, and definitely don't be afraid of success. Be able to tie the bridge between the two and take a leap of faith within your life, within your career. I'll see y'all later.